Picture an older Chihuahua, waking up in a familiar sunbeam on the bed. You're looking at them, and they have uh, the exact same bold eyes they've always had.
Oh, yeah. The same instant recognition of your footsteps out in the hallway.
Exactly. Even that same little, I don't know, opinionated tilt of the head at some random sound outside.
Right, but then you notice this really subtle hesitation, like they stretch just a little more slowly than they used to.
Yeah, you see it.
And they pause at the edge of the bed instead of just, launching off without a single thought. And then maybe they settle back in for a few more minutes before deciding the day is actually worth starting.
And watching that, I mean, you'd swear their personality hasn't changed a bit. They still bark at the mail carrier with the ferocity of a wolf.
They really do.
They totally do. They still follow you from room to room, and they still have that completely unmistakable Chihuahua attitude.
Which is why it's so hard.
Right. It makes it incredibly hard for us to accept that their bodies are actually changing. And that tension between, well, a vibrant spirit and a declining body is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
It's such an important topic.
It really is. We're looking at sources that break down how to support these tiny dogs in their later years. We want to figure out how to, adapt to their physical needs without erasing the identity that makes them so beloved.
And setting the stage for that support, it really means rethinking the timeline entirely. I mean, this breed is exceptionally long-lived.
Yeah, they really stick around.
They do. They commonly reach well into their late teens. So senior status, it isn't a fixed birthday on a calendar.
Right. It's not like turning 65 and suddenly getting the senior discount at the movies.
Exactly. The transition is just much more fluid. Owners generally need to start paying closer attention to, well, gradual changes somewhere between 7 to 10 years old. But age alone does not dictate health.
Oh, for sure.
You can find 10-year-old Chihuahuas out there with the absolute chaotic energy of a puppy.
I've seen them.
Right. So a veterinarian is looking at body condition, organ function, and joint health. That matters infinitely more than the number of candles on their birthday cake.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if they live into their late teens, that means a dog could easily spend nearly half of its entire life as a senior.
It really changes the whole game.
It completely changes it. The core philosophy here isn't about trying to, stop time or forcing the dog to do less just because they hit a certain age milestone.
No, not at all.
It's about preserving their identity while completely adapting their support system.
Yeah, and spending that much time in a golden phase means the changes are incredibly gradual. You kind of have to become an expert at reading subtle shifts in behavior, starting with how they move.
Which brings up a huge myth I want to tackle right out of the gate. The sudden onset of stubbornness.
Oh, this is a big one.
You see this all the time. An owner gets super frustrated because their older Chihuahua suddenly refuses to jump on the sofa, or they plant their tiny feet and just refuse to go on their usual walk.
And the automatic assumption is always that they're just being defiant.
Exactly.
But interpreting that as defiance is actually quite dangerous. When a dog refuses to do something they used to do easily, we have to view it through the lens self-preservation.
Right. I like to think of it like an older professional athlete. You watch a veteran baseball pitcher who's been in the league for 15 years.
Sure.
They don't throw the fastball the exact same way they did as a rookie. They tweak their mechanics.
They have to.
Yeah, they shift their weight differently to avoid blowing out a bad knee or, straining a shoulder. They're protecting themselves.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. So when your Chihuahua looks at that sofa and decides not to jump, they are doing the exact same thing. They are calculating the landing impact on aging cartilage and opting out.
What's fascinating here is how that self-preservation actually manifests. Because in Chihuahuas, pain is rarely an obvious cry or a yelp.
Really? They don't whine when they hurt?
Not usually. As a tiny breed, crying out in pain is an evolutionary disadvantage. It signals vulnerability to predators, so they stay incredibly stoic.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so instead, the pain disguises itself as behavioral changes.
Okay, so if we are observing them around the house, what should we actually be looking for? It's clearly not, limping around on 3 legs.
No, it's far more subtle. It looks like a skipping gait when they walk, or general stiffness after they wake up that takes a few minutes to walk off.
Like they just need to loosen up.
Exactly. You might see trembling, hesitation before moving, or sudden withdrawal from family activities.
They're going to hide under a blanket or something.
Yeah. Or they might show unexpected irritability if you try to pick them up. Or they lick at one specific joint repeatedly. Or even pant when the room isn't hot.
Wait, panting?
Yes, panting is a huge indicator. It's a physiological response to stress and cortisol release, not just a way to cool down.
Because they're tiny and stoic, they just internalize that stress, which makes regular checkups critical, I imagine.
Extremely critical.
And the sources highlight that these senior exams need to be highly tailored, not just quick in-and-out visits.
Right, a senior exam is a comprehensive investigation. Checkups should increase to once or twice yearly, and the vet isn't just giving a vaccine and waving goodbye.
They're actually digging in.
Oh, absolutely. They are palpating joints to check for subtle crepitus, that grinding feeling of arthritis. They are doing pain assessments, listening closely for murmurs in the heart, and checking muscle condition.
And blood work too, I assume.
Yes, running baseline blood work or urine tests tailored to track kidney and liver function over time. You just need that baseline to catch those silent internal changes.
Okay, so if they're masking joint pain by just refusing to jump or walk, how do they mask pain in places they absolutely have to use every single day, like their mouths?
Oh, that's a tough one.
This brings up another highly misunderstood behavior in this breed, the sudden picky eater.
Yeah.
And I have to push back a little on the medicalization of this, because anyone who has owned a small dog knows they can absolutely train their owners.
That is very true.
Right. Isn't it highly likely that an older dog just gets a little spoiled? Like they realize they have you wrapped around their finger, so they hold out for the premium wet food instead of their regular dry kibble?
It is incredibly tempting to view it that way. I mean, we all do it. But for senior Chihuahuas, we really have to look at the anatomy.
The anatomy of their mouth.
Yes. A Chihuahua's jaw is simply too small for the 42 adult teeth a dog is supposed to have.
42 teeth in that tiny head.
Exactly. That severe crowding acts like a trap for plaque and bacteria, which leads to bone loss in the jaw and deep root infections. Dental disease is a massive prevalent issue.
Man, that tiny jaw is basically a ticking time bomb for plaque.
It really is.
So when an older Chihuahua suddenly becomes a picky eater,
Yeah.
or they start dropping food out of the side of their mouth, or chewing only on one side.
Or drooling or pawing at their mouth.
Right, all of that, those aren't signs of a diva holding out for roasted chicken.
No. Those are blaring red flags for severe dental pain, nausea, or underlying illness. They aren't refusing the food because they don't want it.
They're refusing it because it hurts.
Exactly. The mechanical act of chewing physically hurts them. And senior dentistry in these cases is not about making their teeth look pretty. Comfort, not cosmetics, is the absolute goal.
I imagine anesthesia is scary for an older dog, though.
It is, and veterinarians balance the need to relieve that chronic mouth pain against the risks of putting a senior dog under anesthesia. But leaving rotting teeth in their mouth because they are, quote-unquote, just being picky, it forces them to live in silent, constant agony.
Wow. That fundamentally changes how you look at the food bowl.
It has to.
And speaking of the food bowl, let's talk about weight. Obviously, if they are hurting, their activity decreases, meaning they aren't burning as many calories.
Right. Weight gain happens frequently because owners keep feeding the exact same portion sizes to a dog that moves half as much.
Makes sense.
And that puts terrible strain on already arthritic joints. But on the flip side, unexplained weight loss is an urgent red flag.
Really? Just dropping weight suddenly.
Yeah. If your senior dog is losing weight and you haven't changed their diet, it can point to organ failure, metabolic issues, or that severe dental disease preventing them from getting calories. It requires immediate vet attention.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources emphasize that we shouldn't just be looking at the total number on the scale.
Absolutely not.
Right. A dog could weigh exactly the same as they did last year, but their body composition could be completely different. We need to look closely at muscle mass, specifically along the hind legs.
Muscle atrophy is a major concern. If they lose that physical bulk in their hindquarters, they lose the strength needed to stabilize their aging joints.
It's all connected.
It is, which creates a fascinating biological catch-22 when it comes to feeding them.
And the knee-jerk reaction for a lot of people is, oh, they're getting older, I'll just go to the pet store and buy whatever bag of kibble has senior formula printed in big letters on the front.
Which can sometimes be the worst thing you can do.
Really, the worst thing.
Yeah. Generic senior formulas often lower the protein content to protect aging kidneys from working too hard, or they lower the calories to prevent weight gain.
Okay.
But if your specific dog is losing muscle mass, their aging muscles might actually need more high-quality, easily digestible protein to prevent atrophy, not less.
Oh, wow. So it's the opposite of what the bag says.
Often, yes, you can't just buy a marketing label. Nutrition in these later years must be highly individualized, balancing the needs of their organs against the needs of their muscles, and that has to be under strict veterinary guidance.
Okay, so we've covered the internal physical pain, the joints, teeth, muscle loss, and how they adapt their behavior to mask it.
Yep, the physical side.
Let's shift outward now. Let's talk about how the dog actually perceives their environment. When their senses begin to dull, the world around them essentially starts shrinking.
It is a profound psychological shift. We talked earlier about personality changes. An owner might notice their dog is suddenly acting unusually clingy. Following them so closely they're practically stepping on their heels.
Yeah, a lot of people mention that.
Or maybe they are barking excessively at shadows, startling really easily when you reach out to pet them, or seemingly ignoring you when you call their name.
I can totally see why the assumption is often, oh, they're losing their mind. They're getting senile.
Oh, absolutely. But more often than not, they aren't losing their mind at all. They're losing their vision and their hearing.
Just going deaf and blind.
Exactly. Think about how disorienting it would be to navigate your smartphone if someone suddenly inverted all the screen colors and completely muted the volume.
That would be incredibly frustrating.
Right. The layout is the same, you know how it's supposed to work, but the sensory feedback you rely on is completely broken. Imagine how terrifying that is for a 5-pound animal in a human-sized house.
I'd be terrified.
You would become clingy too. You would startle if someone suddenly touched you without you hearing them approach.
Wait, but if they're pacing at night and getting stuck in corners, my instinct is to assume they're just going blind. But the sources point to true cognitive decline being a real issue for them too, like canine cognitive dysfunction or CCD.
Yes, CCD is very real.
How exactly does a dog's brain change with CCD versus just losing their eyesight?
Physiologically, CCD is very similar to Alzheimer's in humans. Amyloid plaques build up in the dog's brain, physically altering how neurons communicate.
Okay.
The signs are distinct but easily confused with blindness. CCD looks like pacing endlessly in circles, staring blankly at the hinge of a door, or getting physically stuck in corners.
He's just staying there.
Yeah, lacking the cognitive processing to just put it in reverse and back out. You'll see nighttime confusion, altered sleep-wake cycles where they sleep all day and pace all night.
Oh, that sounds exhausting for the owner too.
It is. And you might see sudden house training accidents from a dog that has been reliably trained for a decade. This raises an important question, though.
What's that?
If you're at home observing a dog who is startling easily and having accidents, how do you know if they are going blind, if they have dementia, or if they are just in pain from arthritis?
I mean, the harsh reality is you probably can't.
You really can't. Diagnosing this at home is literally impossible because cognitive decline, sensory loss, and physical pain all mimic each other perfectly from the outside.
It's just a guessing game.
Right. A dog might snap at you because they have dementia and are confused, or because they are blind and you scared them, or because they have an infected tooth and you touched their jaw.
That makes total sense.
It requires professional veterinary sorting to isolate exactly which combination of those things is happening.
While we are deep into the internal issues that manifest as behavior, we absolutely have to touch on the heart and the airway. The sources were incredibly specific about this breed's vulnerabilities there.
Oh, yes. Tracheal sensitivity and heart disease are critical alarms. Let's look at the trachea first. Small breeds are really prone to tracheal collapse.
What does that actually look like?
Well, the rigid cartilage rings that hold their windpipe open start to degrade and flatten out. Imagine a sturdy paper towel tube losing its rigidity and getting sucked flat every time they try to take a deep breath.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It causes this harsh honking cough, especially when they are excited or pulling on a leash.
And the heart issues sound just as mechanical.
They are. Mitral valve disease is common, where a valve in the heart weakens and allows blood to flow backward, which can lead to fluid building up in the lungs.
So coughing's a big warning sign there, too.
Yes. So if you hear your senior Chihuahua coughing, especially if that coughing gets worse at night when they are resting, that is not just a little tickle in their throat.
You need to get that checked out immediately.
Right. If they are fainting, if you notice changes in their breathing rate even while they're sleeping, or a sudden reduction in stamina, those are primary indicators of organ failure. They should never be brushed off as just, slowing down.
We've mapped out a lot of the biological challenges here. We understand the why and the how behind these physical changes. But if you are listening to this, you want to know what to do about it.
Let's talk solutions.
Yeah, let's talk about empowering the owner. How do we physically redesign the dog's world to accommodate this changing reality?
Changing the terrain is where owners can make a massive, immediate impact. If their joints ache and their vision is fading, we need crucial home upgrades.
Like what?
Non-slip flooring is essential. If you have hardwoods, lay down strategic area rugs or yoga mats to create safe pathways.
Oh, yoga mats is a great idea.
They're perfect. This builds their confidence because they aren't micro-straining their weakening muscles trying to grip a slippery floor with every step.
And we have to stop letting them jump. Those impact landings on aging cartilage just accelerate the arthritis.
Completely. Ramps or small, sturdy steps leading up to the sofa or the bed are mandatory to protect those joints.
What about their vision?
Another incredibly simple, overlooked tweak is lighting. If their vision is fading, turning on lamps earlier in the evening provides the extra contrast they need. It drastically reduces evening anxiety and confusion in the house.
We also need to talk about temperature. Anyone who knows Chihuahuas knows they are basically heat-seeking missiles.
Oh, they love these.
They will find the 1 square inch of sunlight on the carpet. But as they age, their ability to stay warm deteriorates.
It does.
Yeah.
Their well-known sensitivity to the cold amplifies significantly. Older dogs lose muscle mass and subcutaneous fat, which are crucial for thermoregulation.
So they just can't keep themselves warm.
They literally cannot generate or hold on to body heat the way they used to. They need lower, warmer resting areas, keep their beds away from drafty doors and off cold tile floors.
A heated dog bed would probably be amazing.
A heated dog bed can do absolute wonders for soothing arthritic joints and keeping their core temperature stable.
So what does this all mean? When you combine the rugs, the ramps, the lighting, the warmth, it feels like it all boils down to creating predictability.
Predictability is everything for a dog losing its senses. You need to keep your furniture layout stable.
Don't redesign the living room.
Right. Don't suddenly rearrange the living room if your dog is going blind. They have a mental map of that room, and changing it shatters their confidence. And this extends to how you interact with them, too.
Like how you approach them?
Predictable touch is essential. Never startle them from behind. Let them smell your hand or speak to them softly before you scoop them up.
Just giving them a little heads up.
Exactly. Establishing consistent feeding times and sticking to familiar walking routes offers profound emotional security to a dog whose internal world is becoming increasingly unpredictable.
That need for predictability leads right into safety and medical management, because handling them requires so much more intention now. You have to watch them underfoot.
You really do.
A young Chihuahua will dart out of the way if you accidentally step toward them. A senior Chihuahua with stiff joints and poor hearing simply won't.
You also have to supervise them closely around kids or larger dogs because they can't defend themselves or escape the way they used to.
And what about walking them?
Using proper harnesses that distribute weight across the chest instead of pulling on that fragile trachea we talked about, and utilizing carriers for transport becomes non-negotiable.
The sources also issue a very clear, stern warning regarding medication. Because when an owner sees their dog limping, the human instinct is to run to the medicine cabinet and help them immediately.
Do not, under any circumstances, give a dog human pain medications like ibuprofen or acetaminophen without explicit veterinary direction.
Never.
Never. Dogs lack the specific liver enzymes needed to process these drugs safely. A Chihuahua's tiny size means that even a fraction of a human pill causes catastrophic toxicity.
Wow.
It leads to immediate organ failure.
It's not like breaking an aspirin in half for a teenager. It's totally different biology.
Entirely different biology. And regarding medical management, there are symptoms that require an immediate call to the vet, no wait-and-see approach allowed.
What should people be looking out for?
Collapse, sudden weakness in the legs, severe vocalization of pain, or repeated vomiting. Those are medical emergencies, not things you monitor overnight.
As we bring this deep dive to a close, I think it's important we ground all this medical and environmental talk in what really matters. The sources end on a profoundly compassionate note about defining quality of life.
It is so easy to get overwhelmed.
Right. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the ramps, the specialized diets, and the constant vet visits.
Quality of life is not about perfection. It's not about the dog acting exactly like they did when they were 2 years old. It is fundamentally about the basics.
Like, are they comfortable?
Exactly. Are they eating comfortably? Can they move around without unmanaged pain? Are they resting peacefully? Can they breathe easily?
And do they still seem like themselves deep down? Do they still have moments of curiosity? Are they still seeking out affection when they feel safe?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, A senior Chihuahua is not less of a Chihuahua. The signals have simply become quieter.
Love how you put that.
Yeah, the bark might be softer, the walk might be slower, but the soul of the dog is completely intact. The goal of all these interventions isn't to stop time. It is simply to make the time they have left comfortable.
It really circles back to that image we started with, the older dog in the sunbeam. They might hesitate before stepping off the bed, but they are still heading toward you. Which actually leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to ponder on your own. As humans, we rely so heavily on our pets for our own emotional stability. They anchor our daily routines. They are our constant comfort. So does the intense, lifelong emotional bond we build with our dogs actually make us less objective when observing their gradual decline?
That's a powerful question.
Are we so afraid of losing them that we subconsciously ignore the subtle signs of pain we talked about today? And how can we, out of pure love, step outside our own attachment to truly see the changing world through their aging eyes?
It's definitely something to think about.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.